Hello and welcome to this lesson where we will learn about commenting in Python. So, commenting your Python code is really important as we discussed earlier as well. And why you're seeing this video is you need to know what are the basics that you need to follow when you are coding in a very professional way. So, coming on to the comments in Python, there are single line comments and multi line comments. So, let's see and understand it with the help of examples. So, over here, what we have is a single line comment. So, you can see over here, this is a single line which tells you, okay, it starts with a hash and then you have the comment followed by the hash sign, right? Let's also have a look at a multi-line comments. So in multi-line comments, you have multiple lines of comments, and instead of using a hash in each of the lines, we are using three quotation marks over here. And you may also call it as triple quotes. So this triple quote is actually used to tell the compiler that, okay, whatever you see after this triple quotes is actually a comment. You can also use a single triple quote as well in this way. So this also tells the Python compiler that, okay, after this triple quote, you are going to have comments and that does not needs to be executed. Now let's see when each one of them is useful. So for the single line comment, it is very easy to understand that you can use it with each and every line of code wherever you want to comment them. So let's take some best practice for commenting. As our first example, let me just erase it out and bring in the piece of code. So over here, so you can see that we have a single line comment over here which tells us that this code is actually going to calculate the area of a rectangle. So over here you can see you have the length, width, and then the area is being calculated, and then you have the output area, right? Next rule is use comments to explain why. So for example, in this case, so in this piece of code, we have actually written in the comments that check if the user is an admin. So this basically reminds you when you are writing a code for any user management system. So you need to consider this condition that, okay, the user role must be an admin in this scenario, right? And it explains you why you made a certain choice in your code. Let's discuss a third rule. Update comments as the code changes. Now what that means is you need to always update your comments when you update your code. Otherwise the outdated comments can be misleading and you won't know what you actually did change in your code. These were a few examples of single line comments. Let's discuss some use cases of multi-line comments as well. So in this piece of code that I just brought in over here, we have a function that tells us that it will add a and b, and then you have actually defined the function like, okay, this function adds two numbers. Then you have defined the parameters. So you can see we are using multiple lines of comments over here. So instead of using a hash sign in each of the lines, that would not make the code look appealing. So we have used the multi-line comment technique over here, which actually explains the overall function, what this function is going to do, and then a simple return statement. Now let me bring an example for you which actually contains multi-line as well as single line comments. So over here you can see we have a single line comment which actually tells that, okay, this script is actually going to calculate the BMI, and then after that when we define the calculate BMI function, we actually write down in the comments as well that what this function is actually going to perform and how and what are the parameters and what it is going to return. So you can see we have the weight, we have the height as float, and then we are returning a float which is the actual BMI calculated. And then we are again using a single line comment to define that these are the two inputs that we are going to take. Then over here we are actually calculating the BMI, and then over here we are displaying the result. So you can see how comments can actually make the understanding of your code much easier. And you might have faced this scenario where you have made a code the first day, and then the second day when you try to understand that code, you won't even remember what the logic you wanted to implement, what you implemented, even if the code was working fine. So this is why commenting your code is really important when you are writing Python codes professionally. Always remember that good comments and documentation can make your code more readable and maintainable, not just for others but for your future self as well. With this, I hope you have got understanding of how you can comment in your Python codes and why they are important. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more Python tutorials. Feel free to comment below with any questions or topics you would like us to cover in our next videos.